Have you ever wondered what life was like for Christian nuns under the vast Ottoman Empire? The answer is far more complex and surprising than you might think. Forget the simple stories you've heard. Today, we're uncovering the real, documented history of how these religious communities navigated a world that was constantly changing around them. The Ottoman Empire wasn't a monolith. It governed its diverse peoples through a unique structure called the millet system. Essentially, recognized religious communities like the Greek Orthodox and Armenian Apostolic churches were granted a degree of self-governance. This meant that an abbess in a remote convent in Anatolia or a nun in bustling Constantinople had legal protections, but also specific obligations. They were considered dhimmi, or protected non-Muslims. This status granted them the right to practice their faith, own property, and run their convents. In exchange, they paid a special tax, the jizya. It wasn't always an easy existence, but it was a legally defined one. An Ottoman judge, or qadi, would often be the one to hear disputes, not just between Muslims and Christians, but sometimes between different Christian factions themselves. Now let's look at the evidence. We aren't just speculating. We have Ottoman court records, imperial decrees, and even the journals of European travelers who visited these convents. One such traveler wrote in his journal in the 17th century, describing a Greek convent near Trabzon. They live a pious and orderly life, tending to their gardens and their scriptorium, protected by the Sultan's decree, though they complain of the local governor's heavy hand in taxation. This tells us their protection was real, but so were their day-to-day struggles. Official court scribes meticulously recorded property disputes. For example, records from the 18th century show an Armenian convent in Aleppo successfully petitioning the imperial court in Istanbul to protect its lands from a local official's encroachment. The system, while complex, had avenues for justice. A respected abbess could, and often did, use her knowledge of Ottoman law to defend her community's rights. But of course, the situation wasn't static. It varied dramatically across centuries and regions. A convent in the Balkans might face different pressures than one in Syria. Tensions could flare, especially during times of war or political instability. During the 19th century Tanzimat reforms, the entire legal landscape shifted, bringing both new opportunities and new challenges for these religious women. They had to adapt, constantly balancing their spiritual duties with the practical realities of their world. We've only scratched the surface of the legal and political framework. The real story lies in the daily lives, the personal faith, and the surprising interactions these nuns had with their Muslim neighbors. And that's exactly what we'll explore in Part 2. If you found this fascinating, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next episode. We'll dive into the day-to-day spiritual life, the economy of the convents, and the moments of cooperation and conflict that defined their existence. Let me know your questions in the comments below. Thanks for watching. In the quiet halls of the convent, her life seemed a picture of devotion and peace. We see the familiar image, a life dedicated to prayer, charity, and quiet contemplation. But what if this serene portrait conceals a story far more complex, a history intentionally buried? Whispers from the past suggest a hidden chapter, a narrative that clashes dramatically with the saintly figure we think we know. Today, we're pulling back the veil to investigate the concealed history of a woman whose story has been shrouded in mystery for decades. We begin our journey deep in the archives, sifting through dust-covered boxes and brittle, yellowed letters. Each document is a potential breadcrumb. We'll cross-reference these findings with rare, first-hand eyewitness accounts from those who knew her, people whose memories hold pieces of the puzzle. To truly understand her story, we must place it in its proper context. A world gripped by the immense pressures of war, shifting political landscapes, and the powerful protective walls of the church itself. How did these external forces shape her actions and the story that was told about her? This is where the narrative fractures. On one side, we have sensational tales of disputed incidents, stories that have been passed down and embellished over time. On the other, we have the cold, hard facts found in verified records. The discrepancies are staggering. We'll analyze how information was controlled, what was intentionally omitted from the official record, and who benefited from this censorship. It's a classic case of public perception versus documented reality, and the truth lies somewhere in the chasm between them. So, what can we definitively say? The evidence confirms certain aspects of her life while leaving other questions tantalizingly unanswered. We'll lay out what the historical record supports and what remains in the realm of speculation. Her legacy today is a dual one, a figure of public piety and a subject of deep historical debate. This investigation reminds us that history is never as simple as it seems, and that the most compelling stories are often the ones someone tried to hide. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. If you find these hidden histories as fascinating as we do, please like this video and subscribe for more. Welcome back to our final installment. In our previous episodes, we pieced together a disturbing puzzle, allegations from within a convent, fragments of history, and a trail of institutional silence. Today, we bring our investigation to a close, not with speculation, but with verified conclusions, always honoring the courage of those who came forward. We've meticulously reconstructed the timeline. Drawing from church archives, confidential journalistic sources, and historical records, a clear pattern emerges. Official responses at the time were often delayed, incomplete, or focused more on protecting the institution's reputation than on addressing the harm caused. Key documents, which we've had verified, show a significant gap between what was known internally and what was communicated publicly. This wasn't just a failure to act, it was a systematic effort to control the narrative. So, what truly happened? By cross-referencing survivor testimonies with internal memos and public records, the evidence points to a harrowing reality. Multiple independent accounts corroborate a story of profound betrayal and suffering concealed for decades. Accountability was not just lacking, it was actively avoided. The climax of our findings isn't a single shocking moment, but the undeniable weight of evidence showing a long-standing protected system of abuse. In the aftermath, some reforms have begun, but they are just the start. Many survivors are still fighting for acknowledgement, and crucial questions about who knew what and when remain unanswered. The healing process is long, and for many it has barely begun. True justice requires more than just apologies. It demands transparent and lasting change. This story is a powerful reminder of the importance of listening to survivors and holding institutions accountable. If you or anyone you know has been affected by similar issues, resources for support are available and listed in the description below. Please share this information responsibly to help foster awareness and support the call for justice. Thank you for joining us on this difficult but necessary journey. Please consider subscribing to support our ongoing investigative work.